All right, I think we are live now. There we go. Awesome. How's everybody doing on this Sunday morning? I almost forgot what day it was. They all just kind of run together. There we go. Just did a refresher to make sure everything's showing up on your guys' side. Awesome, awesome. All right, sorry about the camera shaking. All right, so this is Paint with Lovejoy, our daily demo with acrylic painting. And we are painting Bryce Canyon today. This is a viewer request. And if you have something that you'd like me to paint in the demo, please feel free to leave a comment. And you can also see the future ones on the main portion, main page of my YouTube page. So you can see what we'll be painting tomorrow and the next couple of weeks. All right, so I think we're good. Okay, so a little bit of what you're looking at. I am using a flat panel, an 8x10 panel. If you are painting on a stretched canvas today, I recommend that you carry the color over the sides, the tops, and the bottom. And our traceable image on here, you've got two options. You can either pause the video, draw what you see, and then pick up the video for the painting portion, or, and it's already on the website, there's a link in the description box below on where to acquire your traceable, so you can purchase it, download it, and then using carbon paper, transfer it to your canvas, and then pick up the video for the painting portion. So you've got two options. Whichever option that you go for, awesome. It just kind of helps you get into the painting process a little bit quicker. All right, so what we're gonna do for today, we've kind of got a nice blue sky here. We do have a little bit of a mountainscape that we'll put on there at the end. And then the beautiful red rock, unique landscape of Bryce Canyon. And we will be using a little bit of raw sienna and burnt sienna. The yellow is going to make it a little bit warmer. And then for some of our dark shadows, we're going to add a little bit of red to make it more of that red iron color. All right, so let's see, we got people jumping on. Hello, Photography Queen, and Rhonda, and Sonia, and Denise, and Tammy. Awesome, awesome. So love that we have our nice little community here in the morning. So thank you guys for your support and for helping each other and just showing up and being here every morning. Thank you. All right, so again, we're gonna start in our background, our sky, and I'm gonna make like a medium blue, and then we'll go a little bit darker blue towards the top of the canvas. You are more than welcome to switch out any colors that I use to a color that you like on this video or any video. And I am going about a 1-to-1 ratio mixture, going for about a medium blue. If you've never mixed paint before, start off with a small amount of blue, and you can always add a little bit more to your white to go a little bit darker. And the more that you paint, the more comfortable that will become. And as you're painting your background, it's one of our larger spaces on today's painting, so try a few different brush strokes, full width, you can turn that brush sideways, or make X marks. And try all three, and maybe one brush stroke's a little bit more fun for you today compared to another day, and go with that one. So we are going to be filling in this whole space from the lines all the way up to the top of the canvas, and then we're going to do some wet on wet blending for some darker and lighter shades. So as you are painting, you may not realize it, but you may be holding your breath. So remember to take a big inhale, laugh at yourself a little bit, and then go back to painting. We do tend to hold our breath when we're doing something that makes us a little bit nervous because we want to do really good at it. And you'll do really good at it if you breathe. So always make sure you breathe. All right, so just filling that space in. I am using student grade paint, so applying it a little bit thicker. If you're using student grade paint at home, apply it thicker, or you can do 2 coats of your paint. No matter what brand of paint that you have, you may have to adjust based on your paint or based on your environment that you're painting in. Because if you have been painting inside for a long time and then you're like, oh, what a nice day, let's go outside and paint, your paint's going to dry a lot faster, so you will have to adjust your painting process. Now, as you're getting into little nooks and crannies around here, I have the tendency to just use the same brush, but if you need to switch down to a smaller pointy brush, go right ahead. And should you, for any reason, paint over those little spires or paint your background on the inside of your, or on the inside of your design, don't freak out. You can wipe it off with a paper towel, or let it dry and just paint right on top of it again. All right, I see the chat going. Let's see what you guys are talking about now. Awesome. Our usual good mornings. I'm glad it's nice in New York. We got kind of cloudy weather here this morning in San Diego. Awesome, awesome. Just love that everybody's jumping on here and checking in. And we got Chris and Shauna. Thank you for coming on. Excellent. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to let me know. A few things that we've talked about in the past. I'll talk about that in just a moment. So now I'm going to grab the straight blue, and towards the top of the canvas, we're going to go a little bit darker, and then it's going to be the lighter blue towards the canvas. So you just kind of slap that color on there. If you want to, you can wipe off that excess paint, and then just using light pressure, you're blending that new color into your background. All right, so a little bit of things that we've discussed in other demos. If you like anything that is painted on these demos, I am doing a sample sale, and there's links down there. You can purchase one of those, and anytime you purchase from either one of my sites, it goes to continue funding Paint with Lovejoy and keeping this going. We also have, I got a little more organized this week and have all the traceables for the next, I think, 6 or 7 paintings on my website already. And that actually helps me in the planning process. So that was a nice little addition. I am still working on editing the watercolor paintings that I'm doing. And I decided last night that I'm going to go back through some of the demos and use the same traceable that I had you guys use, and I'll do some watercolors. That way we get dual use out of the traceables. And that might be another week or 2 before I can get those posted, just because it's a lot of work to do. And the video editing is my least favorite portion of that. All right, so still I just added a little bit more blue. I'm going to go and add a little bit of white because I want this to be a little bit lighter at the horizon line. So same thing, grab that white, basically make a line on the bottom where you want to be adding this. And as you're doing your blending, the white is going to get eaten up a lot quicker compared to darker colors. So again, I wipe that brush off and then go back and just blend that the white into the blue. And you will notice that as you are doing your mixing, light pressure, you can keep a bit more of a smoother texture on your canvas. A bit more pressure is going to be a little more expressive with more brush strokes showing up. I personally like more of the brush strokes showing up, but for today's painting, I am keeping a bit more of a smoother texture for the sky. So whichever you feel like working with. All right, so this looks pretty good. So we're going to clean the brush off, and we're going to start moving into our Bryce Canyon area. And what we're going to do first is we're going to go in with the really dark colors, and literally we're just going to go in with either dash marks going vertical or dash marks going sideways. So we'll go for the really dark ones, and then we'll do our main color, fill the whole thing in, and then we'll put some highlights on top of that, and then we'll put a little bit of the trees and shrubbery that's around the area. And it is nice to kind of, that we have the red and the green complementing colors for today's painting. Okay, so to make that darker shade, I'm going to pull a little bit of the raw sienna, or the burnt sienna, pardon me, the burnt sienna, and the burnt sienna already has a hint of a red coloring to it. So if you like this, you can actually use this color on its own. I'm going to add a touch more red to mine, not much, just a little bit, because I lived in Arizona and I remember how deep, intense iron red a lot of the places were. So Bryce Canyon is similar, but much different formations happening. All right, so as we add our dark spaces in, it's going to be kind of random, and these are the little crevices, and then we'll fill in with our main color. So I am using that middle flat brush, and I'm going to hold it sideways, making these long little kind of vertical strokes, and then I'll move in for some horizontal strokes, but I am going to keep the brush on that side angle. if you need to, because we will be making small spaces, you can do the exact same thing with the pointy brush, and you're just going to play with your pressure. All right, so as I'm looking at this, let's see, we've got a nice deep shadow happening here. And again, I'm applying that paint kind of thick. It will dry in about 15-20 minutes. But as I apply this a little bit thicker and then I go to apply the second layer, or second color, more of the raw sienna mixture, we'll be able to do a little bit of blending as we mix this into it. And by applying it a little bit thicker for that student grade paint, just gives me a little bit more opaque coverage. So at home, all I want you to do is observe the placement and the shape that I make when I add these colors, and do the best of your ability to mimic that on your canvas. It does not have to be exact, and it's just an illusion, kind of like an impressionistic painting. We just have to get certain main details in there, and it's amazing how much our brain fills in the rest of the information. So again, you're strengthening your power of observation, you're getting creative, you're not doing your normal stressful work. So these are all good things to be doing on a Sunday morning. All right, so again, just kind of placing these in different areas, keeping either dash marks going horizontal or dash marks going vertical. So kind of sticking with that. So you'll see that I possibly switch my brush as I go through this painting. Again, grab that small pointy brush if this one starts getting too much for you. And if you happen to put some of these colors in a place that I don't put it, totally okay. If you have ever been to the desert to see Arizona, Utah, Nevada, I think those are the main ones, with these crazy cool rock formations, they're just breathtaking and very humbling to look at because it just makes you feel so small, being so tiny next to these giant structures. But if you do get the chance to go to any of these places, take that chance, even if it's just driving through. It's beautiful country. All right, so we're going to move into our next color in just a moment. Let's see, let's get a little shadow happening here. All right, and likely we will come back in with this color at the end and kind of intensify some of our shadows. All right, I don't think we need anything over there. Okay, I think we're good. Oh, let's do a little bit right here. All right, so I'm going to wipe off that paint. You can clean it off if you need to. And we're going to go to, let's see, we're going to grab our raw sienna, a little bit lighter. And we may add a touch of red to this. I'm going to put it right here, grab a tiny amount of red. We'll mix that in with it. Yep, that is the color I was looking for. So your raw sienna with a touch of red. And it should be a little bit lighter, 2 or 3 shades lighter than the color you were just mixing. If that's not light enough, you can add a touch of white to yours. So we're going to fill in a good portion except for just a few of the lighter areas. And then we'll go in with the lighter and then we'll start layering our colors on top of it. And okay. And as I apply that, it's not as much of a difference as I want, so I'm actually going to grab more of that raw sienna, mix it in there, so that way it still has that hint of that red, but I want there to be enough of a distinct difference between these two colors. So again, adjust your color at home as needed. There we go, it's a little better. And I am overlapping where I put the darker color just a little bit. Because I am with the student grade paint, it does show through the transparency for the darker colors underneath. So if you happen to just go right over it, you can still work with that. And again, we're just basically doing little overlapping dots. And we are working on our value scale today to where we had our darkest The first color that we put on, this is our mid-tone, our main color, and then we will add highlights after this. And in the painting world, you will learn a lot about your value scale, and that's how you create this magical illusion on the surface of your canvas, on this flat surface. All right, and here I'm actually going to move down to the pointy brush. And again, as you get into these smaller spaces, remember to breathe, relax. It's just paint. It's never the end of the world. Hopefully it's a brand new world for you. Right. Starting to take shape. All right, so again, let's see, let's go in the, let's get down here. Switching brushes again. I am a little more partial to the whiter brush. All right, and if you are painting, remember to take your progress photos, just because, like I said, it's nice to go back and look and see how much you've changed and evolved as you chisel away the white space of the canvas. All right, so just looking to see if there's any questions. Denise, I'm assuming that you were on the Paint with Lovejoy page and the library membership. Is that what you're talking about? I have a color library, and let's see, I'm developing a few other ones so that way you guys can have basically just access to information, build your own library as you're building your own creative outlets. So the color library, I believe it's a $10. It's a flat fee, and you have lifetime access to it. And I go through basically what it looks like to mix all the different colors, your tints and your shades. I think I even mix complementing colors in there, but just a nice kind of beginner source library for what it would look like to mix certain colors. I think that is the only library at the moment. I'm working on a few other ones, kind of like a library for everything a first-time painter needs to know to get started. I have about 80% of that completed. I don't think I've put it on the website yet. And then I was considering doing a Traceable library to where that way you can pay a monthly fee, have access to all the traceables, and then they would be a little better categorized compared to what I can do on Patreon. And Patreon, I have different tiered systems based on which traceables you want, or if you need feedback on your paintings and you want to do a video feed, that's one of the higher tiers, and you get one or two 15-minute videos or exchanges with me, and I'll help you on one of your paintings. But all of that is still developing, so if there's something that you want that I have not put on there, or you want me to develop, let me know, because like I said, you guys have been a huge part of shaping Paint with Lovejoy and the information to be able to give you guys. Okay, so I'm actually going to make a bit more. I realized I started mixing that as I was talking. I do get a little distracted sometimes. So I'm going to mix a little bit more of that red and raw sienna mixture, and then I'm going to add some white to it. We're going to go a little bit lighter. There we go. With just that hint of the red. All right, and then with this color, we're basically going to fill in the rest of the area, and then we'll go in with some shades on top of it. And this color was the raw sienna with a touch of red, and then we added white to it to get basically about 3 to 4 shades lighter than the color we were just using. And I'm getting all the spaces with my big brush first, and then I'll move into that pointy brush. Oh, good, Denise. I'm glad that was what you were talking about. Cool. Oh, yes, I do want to do a monochromatic demo for you guys. So I'll put that on the list. I don't know if I'll change one of the current ones, but I'll put something on there to where we work with just monochromatic colors. All right, let's see a little bit more here. And again, keep in mind this particular painting that we're doing today, we are doing it on the Swift side. The fact that we're doing a landscape painting with this much detail, and it'll probably be about 40 minutes today. Keep in mind that you can acquire so much more if you spend longer and break down the details of your painting even more. So I recommend that you kind of use this as a guide, and likely you should be able to find the picture of Bryce Canyon. This particular angle is photographed many, many, many times. So you can kind of find this photo and just go back and again recognize where we were looking at the dark spaces, the medium space, and the light space. So that way, as you look at a landscape photograph, you can start breaking it down in that manner as well. And as you're looking at your own landscape that you're going to be painting, break it down into sections. You have your sky. Where is it darker, medium, and lighter in there? And then you kind of have what we call the middle ground here, and then this is the foreground that's really forward. You know, so as you break down your foreground, where is there a dark, medium, and light shade on the photograph that you're referencing? So painting and creativity has more to do with the learning of your process rather than perfection. And here, as you get back into this little horizon line, just make sure that any of your mountainscapes or rock formation just overlaps a little bit of your sky, so that way there's a nice solid line and transition between the ground and the sky. All right, so now time to move down to the small pointy brush. And same thing, and then I think we might start adding, might go a little bit lighter right here. And then we've got some greens and things to add in. Okay, so I think actually let's get this back here, and then we're going to add a little bit more white to our mixture. And then we'll be at our underpainting. And that's where I get even more excited about a painting, when there's no canvas space left. Okay, so now we're going to add more white to that mixture. And if you do have a huge chunk of that, you don't want to add a whole lot of, tons of white to it. Throw that white here, and then you grab a little bit of the mixture you were just using, and then you can mix it into the white. Otherwise, you'd have to add probably 3 times the amount of white to tone this whole thing down compared to basically starting a new pile. So a little bit of palette maintenance for you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just fill in the last remaining spaces here, and then we're going to start putting our second layers on. And probably from farther away and even on screen, it probably looks like a weird patchwork quilt right now. That's just kind of part of it, because a lot of the red rocks, similar color value, but it is like a patchwork quilt. Okay, yay, now we're at the underpainting. So another place for your progress photo. And not bad, starting to create some depth. Oh, hi Mike, thanks for jumping on. Glad you enjoy the evolution of the painting. Thank you. Thanks, Sonia. It's coming along nicely. Let me actually look in the screen. Yeah, that's pretty good from a distance. So when you take your progress photos and you look at it on your cell phone, it's the same thing as looking at your painting from 20 feet away without, as I would tell my students, without getting out of your chair in class. But even as I stand up and look at the screen, I'm seeing my painting from that distance, so then I can see what I need to adjust. All right, so let's see, as we get back into here, we're gonna go back into our dark spaces. Let me throw some more raw sienna on the plate. And, oh, we need more white too. All right, so gonna go back, let's go back to that middle color, because I do actually want to do one more layer that's gonna make it a little bit thicker on here. And that middle color was the raw sienna, the lighter brown, with a touch of the red. Oops, not too much. A little more red. All right. So now basically just going to go right over those areas, and then I'm going to start going over in a few other spots as well. So it is so much better. And again, we're on that middle color, not the darkest areas. And just putting that second layer on there to make it a little more opaque. And when you're getting into painting, don't be afraid to do a couple of layers. It just adds more depth, more solidness to your design. And again, with the student grade paint, it just makes it more solid. So don't be afraid to layer. Make this little spire a little more solid. It is amazing how these little spires are made from wind and erosion and just the directions that the winds come through the canyons to carve these amazing little spires that you're just like, how is that not breaking? How is that not falling? So nature is pretty fascinating. And again, if you have to mix your colors second or third time, you're just getting good practice. And we may do a few black outlines on here to at least kind of pop out this rock formation. All right, so yeah, oh, let's see. So we've got a question. I'm actually not too worried about covering the lines. But as I was saying that, like I might actually reapply those lines at the end. And the lines are mainly there just to kind of get that initial composition on your canvas. When you get more into painting, you won't even use a traceable at all. You'll be drawing your own stuff on there freehand. So just a good place to start. But yeah, if you do like those lines, either just be really careful as you're coming up to them so you don't cover them, or just reapply them at the end like we've done on the outlines of some of the other demos. That's all artist choice. All right, so going back over some of the medium colors in the other areas, and then some of the light shades I'm going to start putting this color on top of. And again, as you look at these canyons, there's so many different shades of the same color and directions that they go that you literally could spend multiple hours painting landscapes. So these I'm just kind of keeping more kind of vertical lines, just because there is an interesting rock formation here that has quite a few of them. They're not quite spires. I forgot what these are actually called. Still with that raw sienna and tan mixture. And again, with this painting being so quick, we're just giving the illusion, the impression that we have all these different rock formations. If we were going to be photorealistic, this would probably be a 40-hour demo, and I'm not about to do that. So there are other artists on YouTube that do, so please check them out. They are amazing at some of the photorealism that they paint and the details that they can get. I am patient in many areas, but that is not one of them. So that's probably not something you'll see me do. All right, so again, as I'm adding these other colors, just do the best that you can to strengthen your power of observation as you're watching the general placement of where I put it and the shape, and mimicking that to the best of your ability. All right, I think we're going to go in for some lighter values. We've got to break up some of this space. I'm going to clean that brush really good, and I'm going to go down to the raw sienna with that touch of red and a little bit of that white mixture, coming closer to this color, and then we'll jump into the other one. So in this particular painting, we are going back and using quite a few of the same colors that we used earlier. And this one, I have enough of it made right now that I'm going to use that until I have to make it again. But this was the raw sienna, a little bit of red, and then white to tone it down. All right, again, this one will probably be a bit more of that kind of stabbing method. Creating a little bit of a highlight formation on here. Breaking up some of this space. Again, giving the illusion of where the light is hitting this rock formation first. And if you happen to get into plein air painting, that is basically what you're capturing. And you will do plein air painting pretty quick, because you have to imagine that you're outside painting on site, what you're looking at, and you're painting it while the sun is moving across the sky. So your lighting is going to change. So a lot of plein air painters, they actually paint in a half hour, 45 minutes, kind of get what they call a color study done. And then from that color study, they can go into the studio and create a larger piece from what their study was. And that's a bit more of a traditional painting style, and there's still quite a few people that are doing that. And plein air is kind of, it never really left, but it's kind of making a bit more of a popular comeback these days. And with so many beautiful places to paint, of course. I believe California, the plein air movement was very big here. Okay, so I'm gonna actually go in with a little bit lighter, and we're gonna add a touch of yellow, actually, to it. So we're gonna put this over on this side. We're doing the raw sienna and white. And then the yellow is gonna warm it up, because right now the raw sienna and the white is kind of cool. So the yellow warms it up, makes it a little bit more deserty, since the desert is basically baking in the sun. Go. And again, these are just basically quick little dot and dash marks, very impressionistic, does not have to be exact, and it's helping kind of break up this space, all these different colors, and give that illusion, that magical illusion. Yeah, I think we're definitely going to do some black outlines on this. So I'll bring those black lines back, Sonia, don't worry. All right. Oh, and thanks, Eddie. Thanks for jumping on. Sorry you can't paint at work. Glad you are still at work. And you can always catch this on the replay and paint at home. But thanks for joining, and I hope you're finding this relaxing while you're at work. And kind of with that being said, don't feel like you guys have to kind of keep up with me and paint during these demos. Like I said, it's a lot that I do in a very short amount of time, and it would be more beneficial for you to watch it, and then when you paint at home, pause it, paint, pick up the video again, pause it, paint, so that way you can kind of go a bit more at your pace and not trying to keep up with what I'm doing in a half hour, 40 minutes. I do have one more demo for the Humane Society at the end of this month that has to be another 30-minute demo, so I'm still trying to kind of keep these in that time frame just for good practice. But like I said, I think today, yeah, we're already at 35 minutes, and this one will go a little bit longer, but that's okay. What else do we have to do right now until they fully reopen the world or develop a vaccine or whatever comes first? All right, so I'm going to go in with just a little bit of white, and then we'll do a little bit darker shadow, and then we'll do the black outlines and the green foliage that's showing out in there. So, all right, let's see. So let's go for some raw sienna. I'm going to add a touch of red. Oh, and I forgot to put black on the plate too, so we'll do that in a minute. And that was not the raw sienna I grabbed, that was the burnt sienna. Sorry, I keep getting those backwards. Burnt sienna, the reddish brown, adding a touch of red to it. And just going back, I'm actually going to throw some black on there. I'm going to add a touch of black to this mixture. I want to go a little bit darker. All right, a little bit of black goes a long way. There we go, that's closer to what I'm looking for. And going back on those shadow elements. This is one, the dark shadows do kind of make it pop a little bit more too, just as much as the highlights. And yeah, whatever you guys paint today or anytime for any of my videos, please email them to me. It was nice to see the photos from today and yesterday, so thank you guys for sending those. But email them to me, paintwithlovejoy@gmail.com, or tag me in social media. And make sure you like this video. It just helps for the algorithms for YouTube, so I get more exposure. And share this with your friends. Basically just kind of keep it going. We need more creativity. We need more kind people in this world. And creativity does create kinder people. It slows you down a little bit and makes you realize the world's not as crazy as you think it is. And there are still good people in the world. And as we are creating a landscape painting, there is generally more contrast closer, so more contrast in this area, the foreground, compared to the background. The background's further away, harder for your eye to see some of the details and the contrast that happens. So if you happen to get more into landscape painting, that'll be something that you will learn more about and implement in your process. And even by doing this, it is kind of interesting just when you put a dark color next to a lighter color, the depth that it creates and the illusion of just two colors next to each other, but how the dark and the light next to each other pulls the light forward towards you and pushes the dark further away, creating that magical illusion of space on a flat surface. And again, as you're painting, don't worry about going over other stuff. With acrylic paint, you can always add more. this side. And especially in the beginning stages of painting, you know, I recommend that you trust your instincts, follow that, and you can always paint on top of it if you need to change it later. But right now in the beginning stages, your brain's taking in a lot of information. It's discerning things that it likes and doesn't like, and you're learning a lot. So you're not trying to be perfect right now. But as you discover that maybe you like it a lot and you want to dive more into it, then dive in more and learn more of the technical skills of art. But right now in your beginning stages, enjoy the discovery factor and enjoy kind of the magic of creating something that you possibly didn't think you were capable of. It's a way to kind of impress yourself and just learning to look at things in a new way. And the more that you learn, the more you might want to continue to learn. So keep pushing that discovery. Okay, so let's get some of those. Let's see. I'm not quite sure I'm going to put pure white on there. Maybe we'll save that for the end. All right, so we're going to put some green foliage on there. Actually, let's do the black outlines first, and then we'll put the green foliage on there because I don't want the black to mix with the green. So you do want to make sure that this is fully dry before you do your outline. And if you want, if this is fully dry, you can use a Sharpie marker or you can use your brush. And I'm going to try to keep kind of skinny lines. So you want to work on light pressure and using just the tip of the brush. So you can kind of treat it like a pencil. If you need to put your pinky out, put that somewhere on a dry spot and you can use that as your pivot point or rest your forearm against the edge of the table. I'm just going to switch this over here so it's easier to grab the black. All right, and you can add a touch of water to your brush, but you never want your brush dripping wet. But a little bit of water is going to help the fluidity of your paint, and it'll make it easier to create some skinnier lines. Now, this is completely optional. If you do not want to add the black outlines to your painting, you do not have to. And as we do this, I'm actually shifting around on the canvas a little bit, or around my workstation, but feel free to move the canvas upside down, sideways, any way that you need to position it so you can do these outlines. Remember to breathe as you do your outlines. If you're finding that still kind of difficult, hum or talk to yourself or talk to your pets. Because when you're talking, you are breathing. And for this, with the landscape, I think the black outline's just, again, going to give it a bit of that pop art feel. And it does help distinguish our rock formations by doing the black outline. Again, completely optional. And you can reference the Traceable again for the outlines, where they go if you happen to paint over them and you can't see those lines. Again, just using that light pressure. If you do happen to make a mistake or your brush makes a weird angle, just work it into your painting. That will become a happy accident. Oh, and I think these little, yeah, they did. So these little rock formations here actually had holes that you could see through the sky. So we'll actually go back and I'll add that sky. And even if you're adding these and maybe you don't do all the lines on the Traceable, that's okay too. Maybe you're just doing the main outlines, maybe you're doing the inside details. You get to be the judge for that. And if you happen to make some lines that are a little bit wider compared to the others, that's okay too. And if you are finding that your lines are starting to get wider and wider and wider, take a look at your brush. Do you have a lot of excess paint on there? Wipe that off, and that will help bring the bristles back together. And then reload your brush with more paint. Sorry, I'm getting kind of into a zone. I forget that I'm on the mic. And I don't think we don't have any questions at the moment. All right. And again, if you do find the picture that I am referencing this, it is certainly not even close to exact, but taking a bit of the creative license and just getting the kind of the main shapes in there. Just again, given that this is a short demo to be done for today. It does make me miss hiking in the desert. In the spring or fall. It is crazy hot there in the summer. It's crazy hot there right now. All right, looking good. We're gonna add our grass, or not our grass, our little spottage of foliage, our trees that hang out and can survive in the canyons. And again, if you happen to make some lines that I didn't do, that's okay. Just embrace them. That's part of your painting for today. And I think I came close to the traceable. I might have added a few extra lines, but that's part of the process. All right, so clean that brush really good. I'm actually going to move back up to that point, or the middle brush. And this one, we're going to basically just, again, stab the canvas, making these small areas. There's a decent amount of some grass here, few little trees hanging out, and then just a few smudges throughout the canyon. So I'm literally just going to grab that direct green. My green is on the transparent side, so I'm going to apply it kind of thick. And let's see, first one's kind of right here. Again, does not have to be exact. If it does pick up just a touch of that black paint, totally okay. Don't freak out over it. And if the middle brush is too much for you, move down to the small pointy brush. But again, in the canyons, in the desert, it is so hot that it is very specific trees that can grow and find the water sources. So it's not like there's a whole lot of greenery in the canyon at Bryce National Park. Got a little bit hanging up here, the different mesas. Up here we actually have a few kind of pine trees shooting off. We got one hanging down in the corner here. I kind of like that that's really extreme foreground, so it's bringing you forward even more. And if you are inclined to add a few more extra leaves or foliage than I am, that just means you had a super rainy season, so that's good for your canyon. All right, we got a few little white highlights that we're going to add, and then I think that brings us to the conclusion of today's painting. Nice, nice. And let's see. I'm actually looking at the photograph. There is a bit of a rock formation happening right here. It's a little diffused. So let's see, let's grab a raw sienna with just a touch of the burnt sienna. We're going to add this to the back horizon line. I'm going to go right above that black line. There we go. And just fill it in. This one, I don't think I'll outline with the black. And we're going to keep it a little transparent since it is sitting on that horizon line. And we are imagining that this is just a bright blue sunny sky day. And then I'm going to grab just a touch of that green because there is more foliage on this area. And I am painting right on top of that wet raw sienna, so it is changing colors a little bit. That's okay. Again, on our horizon line, it's so diffused that the details that we think we can see, we can't. Our brain's making it up. Okay, so the little bit of the white, we're just going to be putting some kind of bold highlights on here. And again, it's just helping us kind of pop forward our shapes. So again, just kind of place them in the general areas that I'm placing them. And these are just little dash marks. There's not an exact science to what I'm applying. Just again, breaking up that space and giving the illusion that we have this formation happening. Oh, and then I need to put that little spot of blue in between that rock formation. I'm gonna take a minute and look at it through the screen. Nice, looking good. All right. So let's see what was, oh, the little blue spots in here. And then I think that'll take us into the conclusion. Awesome. And about 50 minutes, not too bad. I kind of enjoy doing the longer ones and not trying to squeeze it into a 30-minute little demo. Blue, that's right. Though apparently after about 40 minutes, my brain starts to shut down and forget what I just said. How many of you have walked into a room going, what did I come in here to get? Yeah, I'm doing that way too often these days. All right, so there's just tiny little, I guess what we call holes or slits in the formation of this canyon, of this rock formation. So we can actually see a little bit of blue through those. So just kind of reapplying them. And when you look at the picture of Bryce Canyon, you'll see a little bit more of what I was talking about. But just completely minute little detail to throw on there. Awesome. All right. So yeah, this brings us into the conclusion of our painting for today. Really appreciate you guys hanging out and glad you enjoy it and find it calming and relaxing. This is why we paint. This is why I'm here doing this. So thanks. All right. So I actually already forgot what tomorrow's demo is, but it is on the main page on my YouTube channel. And yeah, hope you guys have a great Sunday fun day, and I will catch up with you tomorrow. Cheers.